How much is 8,000 rupees? Well, if we still had that one note to kill corruption, that is the 2,000 rupees note, it would just be 4 notes. If it was 500 rupees notes, it would be 16 notes. Either way, this wallet, which currently has rupees 8,000 in it, believe me when I say so, does not look out of the ordinary. The point I am making is that rupees 8,000, unless you carry it in 1 rupee coin, is not going to look like much. But why am I talking about 8,000 rupees? Because believe it or not, that was the total amount seized in cash, I might add, in the run-up to the Mizoram elections. Rupees 8,000. Do not believe me, of course. This number was quoted by the authorities after all. Almost 9 lakh voters and 40 seats. To put this in context, this essentially means that the cash seized per constituency was about 200 rupees, or as we often say in Guwahati, about 3 plates of momos. In this week of Decoded, we look at how a northeast state managed to do the impossible, conduct elections without shedding a drop of blood or firing a bullet. Pursuing for months.
A village of Assam
in the 75th Independence Day.
Mizoram is known to surprise and confuse mainlanders and even the rest of the northeast. I mean, do you see how Mizos drive or observe traffic rules? I mean, what is wrong with them? Driving in a lane? Then there is the unity they show among each other. So weird, right? I know, we have been branded as biased media. So I will only quote official numbers and show official data. Now let us begin. Yes, Mizoram witnessed only 8,000 rupees cash seizure, but it was not as if this was the only thing seized. In fact, I will start by pointing out that in Mizoram, overall seizures in the run-up to the elections had nearly doubled. As this Indian Express report shows, compared to the 2018 elections when the authorities seized contraband worth 19 crore rupees, this year the number has risen to 36 crore rupees. But as always, numbers without context are just that, numbers. Now, seizures totaling rupees 36 crore are surely a concern for a state with less than 11 lakh people and under 9 lakh electors. But earlier this year, when Nagaland, Meghalaya and Tripura went to elections, news of seizures was so regular that often the smaller seizures went unreported in the press. Nevertheless, seizures in 3 states went up nearly 23 times compared to the 2018 elections, and the total seizures in the 3 states of Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura amounted to 169.64 crore rupees. And if you are a resident of these 3 states, you can seriously say that cash did not play a role in how people voted. So when you compare a 23-fold increase to a 2-fold increase, Mizoram does not look so bad, right? And drugs, what about drugs? You never talk about drugs. Patience. You must have, my friend, patience. In Mizoram, drugs had the lion's share in seizures, but for anyone following Mizoram closely, that hardly makes for a revelation. Of the 36 crore, officials seized heroin worth rupees 19 crore, methamphetamine worth 4.28 crores and poppy seeds worth 57 lakhs, aside from 8.84 crore rupees in cigarettes and 1.16 crore rupees in liquor. Drug seizures unfortunately hardly make it to the headlines even in local media because they are so frequent and, more worryingly, so widespread. The state shares a long and complicated border with Myanmar, which falls in the Golden Triangle drug trade route that includes Thailand and Laos. The civil war in Myanmar, the unrest in Bangladesh and the now 6-month-old violence in Manipur have all meant that drug seizures are up. Again, we are not saying Mizoram elections were cleaner than the water sold at airports. What we are saying is this: drug seizures are an unfortunate reality in Mizoram, elections or not. And it is a huge election issue too, because guess what? Despite what some people might say, the Chin Cookie Mizo do not have cocaine with coffee or breakfast. Further, the rather astonishingly low cash seizure of rupees 8,000 shows that the idea of politicians using cash to lure voters seems far-fetched, at least in Mizoram. Interestingly, in states like Nagaland and Meghalaya, cash seizures formed a higher percentage of the total seizures. Look at the context in which Mizoram elections took place. The state has been at loggerheads with the centre over the refugee crisis. Things between the ruling party and the BJP, who are allies in the NDA, have been so bad that when our Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he would visit Mizoram for campaigns, of course for campaigns, what will he come to the northeast for? It is not as if something is happening in Manipur. The Mizoram CM said, not sharing the stage with him. Eventually, the PM did not come because, well, I don't know. It is not as if the PM gives interviews.
क्या हमारे प्रधानमंत्री आम खाते हैं?
But back to Mizoram. The ZPM is for many a beacon of new hope. There are many who want a government not headed by either the MNF or the Congress, and for them, the answer lies in the ZPM. The party, sure, has time and again attacked the ruling party, and why would they not? This is democracy after all. Again, to give examples from the northeast, there were political violence in Tripura and Manipur during elections. Nagaland too witnessed both pre-poll and post-poll violence. Manipur and Tripura, we made 2 documentaries on the political violence in the state, links to which are in the description. But we would have been scraping the barrel if we tried something in Mizoram because, well, no violence. Regarding hate speeches, it would have been easy to speak, say, against Meiteis in an attempt to use Manipur violence and garner votes, but no leader from any party worth nothing did so. There was no hate speech against immigrants, no communal undertones, and even though Mizoram had several church dominions, Presbyterian, Baptist, Catholics, Pentecost, there was no attempt to drag these differences in. Now, sure, there was one incident where an independent candidate in Mamit district allegedly gave a hate speech while speaking in favor of the minority Bru community against the majority Mizo community. But after an FIR, she apologized and the matter was solved amicably. Most politicians refrained from organizing massive rallies, although one could simply point out to limited open spaces, at least in Aizawl, for such an occurrence. The only outlier was Rahul Gandhi's visit, which went viral in Mizoram and brought Aizawl to a standstill. But most political events were executed without any mishap and problems for the common man. Even when the candidate lists were announced, there was no violence. Anger? Yes. Disgruntled leaders switching parties? Sure. The point I am making is that let us not get confused between leaders being disgruntled and civilians hitting the streets and wrecking public property and killing each other. On December 3, the results from Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Telangana and even Chhattisgarh are almost guaranteed to overshadow Mizoram's election results. Yet, the rest of India and especially us in the northeast can learn important lessons on how to conduct violence-free and hate speech-free elections from Mizoram.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to EastMojo. For any queries, put them down in the comments section below and press on the bell icon for notifications.